this tutorial we're gonna have a look how we can create this volume slider, and we can change the volume according to our volume slider value, as you can see. So we're gonna create this, and before we jump into the coding part, I want to thanks Agotola Joseph Kwan Yuan and Soham Komai, and a special thanks to Mann, Moradiya and Secretive for donating on Patreon. If you guys want to do that, you can do on my Patreon page, and by that you're gonna unlock many benefits. So you can just check that out. So without further delay, let's dive into this topic. In order to create the slider, we need to create the canvas first. And to create the canvas, make sure you just go to hierarchy, right click or hit this plus icon, and then go to UI, and then select this canvas in the bottom, you can see. So let's click on that to select the canvas, to create the canvas basically. And we're gonna do some settings in canvas. So select the canvas in the hierarchy, go over to inspector, then canvas scalar component, and over there as you can see UI scale mode, and it says constant pixel size. So from constant pixel size, we're gonna choose this scale with screen size. So our canvas just gonna scale with our screen size, and in the X something like we're gonna put 1920, and in the Y we're gonna put 1080. And if your game in portrait mode, then you can just swipe up this value and you are good to go. And we're gonna select our canvas in the hierarchy. Let's press down F to focus on it, and let's create the slider. To create the slider, make sure you select the canvas game object in the hierarchy, right click on that canvas game object, then go to UI, and then you're gonna find the slider right over here. So we're gonna click on that to get the slider, and I'm gonna call it something like volume slider. So let's call it volume slider, and we need to scale this up. We barely able to see. So to scale this up, we're gonna choose this drag tool and select that volume slider, hold down alt on your keyboard. So it's gonna scale from the center like this, as you can see. I guess this is fine. And we're gonna change the color of this background, so a background of this slider. So we're gonna click on this to expand, and let's select the background, go over to inspector, scroll down, go to image component, and click on this color. And I'm gonna choose this. I guess this is fine. You can choose any color you like, it's totally up to you. I'm gonna make it little bit transparent. To make it, we're gonna go over to a channel in the bottom, you can see, and I'm gonna make it somewhere around 150 seems pretty fine to me. And let's select the handle side area and this knob. So we're gonna select handle side area. Let's click right over here. I'm gonna select the canvas as well. I'm gonna drag it in top of my hierarchy so I can see all the time. And let's select this handle area, hold down alt on your keyboard. So it's gonna reset from center. So we're gonna select our handle, and we're gonna hold down alt on your keyboard, on our keyboard, to resize from center. And you can just replace this image with anything you can. So I'm gonna choose, we can go with this as well. Or what we're gonna do, we're gonna select our handle game object in the hierarchy, go over to inspector, image component, and you can just replace over here as well with any image that you are looking for. I guess this is fine. And we need to make the volume slide a little bit down, so I'm gonna make it hold down alt, so it's gonna resize from center. And let's select the handle. Now we're gonna resize like this. And now if we go to volume slider by now, and then go over to inspector, scroll down and navigate to slider component, and we can just over here in the bottom you can see volume. So you can just increase this up. As you can see, whenever we're playing with basically this value, we can see our slider value just going up and down, basically this line, so this area. So what we have to do, basically we need to just get the reference of this volume slider, then we will move over to slider component of this volume slider, and then we're gonna access the value, and we will set the value equal to sound of our game. so we will set equal to that. So I hope you get the idea, and we need to make it a little bit down, I guess. So we're gonna select our volume slider. Make sure you select the whole game object and hold down alt on your keyboard to resize it from center like this. I guess this is fine, and we're gonna make it our handle side a little bit down. So we're gonna hold down alt our keyboard, and I'm gonna drag it somewhere around here. Let's hold down alt, and this fine seems fine, and we can add a text as well, something over here, but I guess it's fine. And we can just select the fill area as well, then fill, and we can go to inspector image component, and we can change the color with any color that we want. I guess green should be fine. And I guess this is, let's choose yellow. Yellow is totally fine, and we can just type something over here. We can add a text something like says volume, but I guess it's okay. And from this knob I'm going to choose a rectangular size. So what we're going to do, we're going to select our handle. So make sure you just click over here to expand, select the handle, go over to inspector, and then we're going to from knob. So let's go to image component, click over here, and we're going to search for square, a square. And if you can see, just click on this icon and we will see. So we can see over here, so we're going to choose that one, and this is seems fine. Now let's hold down alt to resize it from center, and this is pretty fine now. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna select our fill area. Let's go to inspector image component, and this is fine, I guess. Okay, so this is fine, totally fine. So what we need to do now, we need a reference of this volume slider, then we can set to our music. If I just go ahead and then click on this play button in the top right after the game start, the music will be played. You will able to hear that. So just wait for a moment. So just wait for a moment. I hope you are able to hear the sound. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna link that up. So I'm gonna get out of play mode. So we need a reference of this volume slider, then we can do. So I have the sound in audio manager script. So let's select the game object in the hierarchy, and let's open up the script by double clicking on it. And what we need a reference of that slider, of that volume slider, then we can set. So we will go to top of our class, and we're gonna make it public. So make it public so you can see underneath your this audio manager script. And what we need, so we're gonna create a slider. So you need to type the component that you are looking for. We looking for slider, but as you can see we not getting it. So what we basically need to do, whenever we working with UI, we need to include this namespace in top of our class. It's called using unity engine dot ui, sorry, dot ui, and make sure you close that up with semicolon. So whenever you working with UI, make sure you just include this namespace on top of your class says using unity engine dot ui, because that slider is a UI element. So that's why we need to include this namespace. And we're gonna type the name, the component we're looking for is slider. So now if I just type, as you can see we're getting it. So slider, and I'm gonna call it something like volume slider, and then close that up with semicolon, control s to save your code. And now we will move over to unity. So just wait for to compile. So just wait a little moment. So as you can see, or in audio manager script, we can see a volume slider field appears, and it says none slider, basically totally empty. So what we have to do now over here, we need to drag the volume slider reference right there. So let's select our volume slider game object in our canvas in the hierarchy. Let's select that and drag it right over here in volume slider field. Now we have the reference. And what we're gonna do now, we need to set, if we select our volume slider game object in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector, scroll down, we can see a value. So we can just play around with this. So what we're gonna do, we have the reference by now of this slider, and we can directly link that up with our audio listener. So basically, if we select our main camera game object in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector, we can see in our main camera a audio listener component is already attached, and this component is responsible for changing volume and like that, those things. So we need, so what we will do, we will go to audio listener, and then we're gonna set the value of the audio listener to our slider volume slider value. Means how much we drag it down, it should be the volume of our music or the theme. So if we select our volume slider game object, then go over to inspector, scroll down, and then slider value, we need to call the function over here. So we're gonna make a function to change the volume of our theme or the music. So let's go to script and let's make a function, and we're gonna call that function underneath this function is called on value change. So we need to call the function right over here. So we will go to our script and let's make a function. So we're gonna make a public, so make sure you making it public. So we're gonna call that function over there in slider value, and for function we're gonna type void, and we can call this function something like change volume. Let's call it change volume and make first bracket and some curly bracket. So what we want to do inside this function, we will go to audio listener dot value, or we can say sorry, dot volume, and we will set the volume equal to volume slider dot value. So we will go to volume slider dot value and close that up with semicolon. So what we basically doing, we just going over to audio listener volume. Basically, if we select our main camera in the hierarchy, we just going over to this audio listener and accessing basically that accessing volume, as you can see. So we just going to audio listener and accessing the volume, and we're setting the volume equal to how much slider value is. So if we select our volume slider in the hierarchy and then go over to inspector, scroll down, and let's suppose the value over here volume slider is something like 0.5, means half. So the value of this the volume of that audio listener, basically the theme volume just gonna be 0.5. Why? Because the volume slider value, as you can see, 0.5, and what we doing in this function, we're just setting the volume of the music, volume of the music or the game theme, we're setting it equal to volume slider value, which is by default we basically we set 0.5. So this volume slider dot value is 0.5. So the audio listener dot volume means the music volume also gonna be 0.5, because we directly setting it, as you can see, audio listener dot volume equal to volume slider dot value, means how much volume slider value is, it will be set as an volume of our game or the theme. I hope you get the idea, and control S to save your code. Now we're gonna move over to Unity, and by default we're gonna set that volume. So just wait for to compile, and once it's done, we are ready to go. So by default, I'm gonna set the value of this slider volume slider to 1, because in the start of the game, player gonna able to hear the whole basically able to get the normal value of the volume. So we will select our volume slider, then inspector, scroll down, and I'm gonna set the value to 1. Basically we're just going over to volume slider dot value, basically means we're just going over to this volume slider and then accessing the value, and this value will be the music volume, as you can see. So now, and we need to call the function by now. So in order to call the function, make sure you select the volume slider game object in the hierarchy, go over to inspector, scroll down, and then click on this plus icon, and we need to drag the game object in which game object we created the or the script is setting on, or the script is attached. So in our case, this audio manager. So I'm gonna select that and drag it right over here. So and it says no function, so we're gonna just click on that. And in that game object we attach the audio manager script, as you can see we have. So we're gonna go over to audio manager script or class, and from there we're gonna choose this change volume function. Basically we just calling that function, this function over there, whenever we just basically working with this volume. So basically we just calling that function, and that change volume function just changing the volume of our music according to slider value. So now if we just go ahead and then click on this play button in the top, you will able to hear the volume. And as we just turn down or basically make this volume slider value low, you the music will be set to that value. Music volume set will be set to that value. So now if I just drag it down in the game view, as you can, as soon as we just drag it down all the way to 0, we can see we're not able to hear the music at all. Why? Because we just going over to audio listener dot volume, means the music volume, and we setting equal to volume slider dot value. And volume slider dot value, as you can see, it's all the way 0. So that's this one becomes 0 right over here. So that's why audio listener dot volume, basically the music volume, just gonna be 0, because we directly setting it, as you can see, audio listener dot volume equal to volume slider dot value. So it's gonna change according to how much volume slider we value will have. So gonna have, so as you can hear. So I hope you get the idea. So I'm gonna get out of play mode. So I hope you get the idea of this. And lastly, thanks for watching this video. I will see you in the next tutorial.